everyone, my name's Joshua Dunlop. I'm a concept artist well known for doing realistic Pokemon from my personal series, Pokemon Zoology. Now today I'm going to be teaming up with the wonderful people at Wacom, showing you my process from start to finish using ZBrush, Keyshot and Photoshop. I'll also be using my brand new Wacom Cintiq 24 HD. So let's get started. Step 1. Reference. I start my process by creating mood boards full of reference material I can use as inspiration. This is an essential part and is incredibly important to making believable creatures. Step 2. Sketching. Next, I rough out my ideas, trying different looks, shapes and textures. I always try to figure out how the creature moves and functions as a living animal, as it really helps sell it in the final image. Step 3. Composition. Once I have a basic rough design that I'm happy with, I start to think about how it might fit into a scene, what environment it might live in, and how to show off its best features. Step 4. ZBrush. I then move into ZBrush, a 3D modelling program used by many in the industry, and I begin to sculpt. I like to start off with simple shapes to try and get a loose idea of proportions. I tend to use Z-spheres to build up the main shape of the body, and this way I can figure out the right pose before moving into any detail. Step 5. Detail. I use a combination of alphas and brushes to create detail on my model. I generally build up a variety of different textures to get what I'm after, starting with large loose ones and finishing with tight detailed ones, layering them up like a painting. I also sculpt textures by hand, as alphas can sometimes be repetitive. Step 6. Colour. I polypaint my models in ZBrush, starting with the simple base coat. This gives you a nice canvas to paint onto and gives an illusion of highlights and shadows. I then move on to using photo textures on a low opacity to get some realistic textures in there. This mainly works for things like stone, fur, skin, but not so much for uniform things like scales or feathers. Finally, I use cavity masks to get some colours into those cracks and crevices to really make those textures stand out. Step 7. Keyshot. Using Keyshot Bridge, I transfer the model into Keyshot, a wonderful rendering software that allows you to create believable lighting and material effects in real time. I start by playing with the materials, making sure that the stone reacts to light properly so it doesn't look like a plastic model. Once the materials are done, I begin to light it using a combination of HDRIs and sphere lights. I finally pose it, saving out a few camera angles until I find the one I like, and then I render out a variety of passes. Step 8. Photoshop. I start by bringing all the render passes into Photoshop, adding them into a group, setting them to a variety of settings so they all blend together nicely, and finally move it into a position that's close to my composition sketches. I then build up the background, making sure that it's close to the lighting direction in the renders. start work on the foreground using colour balance to make sure that it all matches the scene. Here I add in some of the detail. I wanted it to look like it just lifted its head from beneath the sand, so I wanted lots of sand to be falling from its back. A big rule for me is don't be precious. Don't be afraid to cover up detail if it aids the overall scene. The great thing about models is that you can reuse them over and over again in scenes in the future. I then review the overall scene and figure out what needs to be added to balance and sell the image. So I add directional light and shadow to set it in the scene, a colour contrast in the background with the hills, some clouds to break up the sky, some elements in the foreground to show off its size, and then I use levels to balance out the contrast. I really hope you liked the short tutorial, and do check out Wacom's range of fantastic tablets and much more. And don't forget to follow me on social media for more exciting artwork. Thanks.